Welcome back to another Queen City Press podcast preview show. I'm Laurel Thaler, and I'm joined by Tyler Snipes as usual. Obviously, there's no game to preview for FC Cincinnati this week with the international break, but we've got a packed show anyway with some good bonus content that I think you guys will enjoy. We'll do a little mini preview of sorts, I guess, with what's happening elsewhere with FC Cincinnati players out on national team duty. But Tyler, there's been a lot more ups and downs since we talked last. Stunning loss at Tigres. I don't know if your question at the end of our last interview with Nate Bucati maybe it jeopardized what we were going to have to talk about this week. But stunning loss at Tigres, followed by a dramatic comeback win on Sunday to give FC Cincinnati some positivity going into the international break. So we'll talk about all that, plus who is off on national team duty. Before we go to all that, we'll get into we've got a special guest with Carlos Mojica joining to discuss his new book, Goal, which is a great read for any soccer fan, but an especially great tool for parents of young kids. And then I got a chance to speak with Co-CEO Jeff Berding yesterday at the FC Cincinnati Foundation Community Impact Report release. So I'll share an update on that, all the stuff that they discussed as far as what the foundation has been doing. And he also is willing to discuss a few things beyond the community work. So I'll share that interview as well. So make sure you stay with us till the end. We're going to start with some of the lighter stuff first, and we'll finish up with the latest on the team and what Berding had to say about this team's slow start. So Tyler, what do you think of this past week?
I like that you pointed to the last question with Nate there. I think rightfully so. We heard, the FC Cincinnati community definitely feel differently than we did. And I'm not going to lie, Laurel, there was a time where I was prepared to come on here and eat cold rice. But rescuing that win against Montreal, I think did say a lot. I think you guys nailed it on the Insider Show. Obviously, everybody should be checking that out every week. But I think the limits of losing both of those games last week did get pushed in terms of the temperature of Noonan's chair. I would imagine you feel similar, but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get all into all this a little bit later as we kind of lead into what Jeff Berding had to say, because I think he's the one that can really tell us what the temperature of the club is right now. But I didn't actually expect them to lose that game I thought they would probably lose at Tigres. I did not think they would lose the series.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. But they roll on. There's just so many things pick apart from that, but it also feels like it was a month ago in my head and I'm already over it. So I'll lean on you if there's really anything to keep talking about with that one.
Well, I realized we were so just the ups and downs and how close it came to just being that 0-2 result that we talked about with Nate last week. If you guys didn't check that out, he was a great guest, just kind of, I don't know, taking the temperature of some of the outside perspective of the team. I know everyone's got their own opinions and lots of stuff floating out there, but I thought he was just, I thought he was pretty good. So go back and listen to that one. But I realized in the Insider Show, Eric and I hardly talked about the Tigres game because it was so much Sunday just kind of saved the week, sort of. As bad as that game was, and you expected it to be better for FC Cincinnati, them just getting that result going into the break was huge.
Yeah, and I think the way they did it was also huge too. And you saw a little bit of fight back in the Tigres game. I know the scoreline isn't exactly flattering, but that late was a Vander to Denke set piece, right? Like plan A working beautifully, in a tough environment with their backs against the wall. It's okay. For all the concerns that everybody had about will this team play for Noonan, and losing the fans is one thing, losing the locker room is entirely another. Even though getting bounced from CONCACAF like that isn't great, I think that's just one of those things. The team is still alive.
Yeah.
You know, like the team cares, the team will dig deep. They were just overpowered by Tigres. And going back to something I said, like, I think with that I spoke with another fan about it, and they brought up the Tigres like home leg and just like how disastrous of a day that was for the opponent. And they said like they were getting mocked in the stadium for like mentioning that, like maybe that was the only reason Cincinnati looked so good. So like maybe that just set them up unfairly, and like this was just always going to happen. And I know, you know, like the repetitive narrative, like, hey, like they got bounced by this team at this stage last year. Where's the improvement? All of that. But it's like those games are difficult. But I don't know. I'm with you. Like that was weird. That was one of the all-time FC Cincinnati days on the internet. I've learned to not participate in the discourse as much these years, but I was definitely observing it. I'm just like, yeah, man. Like I thought I had a finger on the pulse of where things were. I was wrong. Like there's a lot of fans like who were really ready that night to go in any other direction. And yeah, Sunday did not look good. I think that chorus, you know, started to get very loud, and then they did have to dig deep for it. And, you know, now it's like they're going to come back to what Red Bulls and not have Miles Robinson, not have Dado. You hope everybody comes back from international break. We'll talk about all that, like healthy and everything. Like this team's not out of the mud yet at all. Like as you said, it's been a roller coaster of emotions, but like they are so far away from like the heights of joy that they want to bring, you know, to their supporters right now.
Yeah. Well, let's put a pin in all that. And I do want to mention we have our live show coming up at the Pitch on April 1st. So next Wednesday, 7 p.m. We can talk about all this with you guys. I'm sure fans have more questions for us than probably we can answer, but we're gonna have some fun with it, and we hope you guys will come out. Please let everyone, all your FC Cincinnati friends, just people that you know could use a night out, come out to the Pitch at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 1st. So we hope to see you there. Just if you can, maybe drop us a line on social media or wherever. Let us know that you're coming so we know to look for you. But you can still come if you don't let us know. And then if you guys are listening to the audio version, make sure you check out our YouTube page as well. We're at youtube.com/@Queen City Press. So check that out. But before we move on into the rest of the show, let's bring in a word from our friends at Hoist.
Today's episode is sponsored by Hoist. Hoist is IV level hydration created to fuel adventure, increase performance, maximize capabilities, and power the grit that gets things done. Hoist is more than a sports drink, a lot more. It's carefully formulated, aggressive hydration science, and research in action. Hoist is clinically proven to hydrate 110% better than water and keep your body hydrated longer. Hoist is half the sugar and 3 times the electrolytes, with no artificial dyes, preservatives, or artificial sweeteners. No surprise then that Hoist is the trusted and preferred hydration partner of the U.S. military and the U.S. Department of Defense.
Well, thanks again to Hoist. And if you have a business that you would like represented on Queen City Press podcast or any of the content, I've got a media kit I would be happy to send you. We would love to partner with you. So send us an email at the queencitypress@gmail.com. And yeah, we would love to grow with you guys. So now why don't we go on and you did, Tyler did an interview with Carlos Mojica to talk about his new book, Goal. So it's awesome soccer stories and fun facts for kids. He was awesome enough to send us an advanced copy, but now it's actually available. You guys can check it out. You can find it on Amazon. I think I saw it on Barnes and Noble. Wherever it's out there. So
it's everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So it came out this week. So congratulations to Carlos. That's just totally awesome that he was able to. I'm reading it actually with my daughter. She's he kind of targeted it toward 7 to 9-year-olds, but like I'm reading it. My 14-year-old son, I want him to read it. Just he's into soccer. It's got just some of players that he's probably heard me talk about. You know, I was a big Roberto Baggio fan, so he's heard that name, but doesn't really know some of those older players. Or he kind of goes through just some of the stars of the game. It's got like the laws of the game, just a lot of facts that are really helpful for especially kids that are learning the sport. But I mean, I'm interested in just learning more myself. So good chance to talk with Carlos about kind of the vision behind it and everything. So Tyler, anything else you want to share before we bring in that interview?
The only thing I would add is like even younger kids, the little ones in my life, or I have a 4-year-old niece and nephew, and it's cool like reading just about any player, and then like this is where Brazil is, this is where the Netherlands is, like even younger, like it was really easy to like get them into it. And what happens when you get a 4-year-old going? It's like, we'll do another one. This is the last one. And they keep fighting for more. So it was like, that was really cool. It's like, this is my friend's book and they absolutely love it. And then my sister-in-law is a teacher. So I ordered a few copies, like, one for her classroom, one for her library. So for those of us soccer nerds who don't feel like there was enough soccer to read growing up, here's our chance to change it. You know what I mean? Buy a couple copies, put them everywhere. As you'll hear in the interview, like, I'm not going to hide, like, I'm biased here. Like, Carlos is a good friend of mine, has been for many years. And this is just so cool for him. So yeah, really, really cool that we were able to do this.
Yep. And he, was raised in Ohio. So he's, I forget his full background. I know you guys get into that, but
yeah, he's raised in El Salvador,
yeah,
came to Ohio not knowing any English, which is like, how could you even imagine? You know what I mean? Here he is writing books. Like, crazy story on that guy.
But he worked for the Columbus Crew for a while, so that's how I got to know him, and I imagine that's probably how you got to know him as well.
Yeah. It's like early on in my like writing, like when I was more of a writer. We would do like previews for SBI soccer. It would be like 5 of us and we would do every team, which was like nuts, but we would kind of do it regionally. So I would be doing a lot of crew. And I just remember like being like really humble, like, hey, can I talk to like bench players or like not the star players? And like, he just called me one day. He's like, hey, like, I'm going to give you a one-on-one with Caleb Porter. You're going to talk to Giassi Zardes. You're going to talk to like whoever. He's just like, we need you talking to like actually like, the players' fans when you hear from them. Just like, you'd really do that? He's just like, yeah, man, that's my job. And like he's one of those people, like, and I'm sure you had comm staffs over the years, like when you were like new, or just like, hey, don't be scared to ask for more than what you think you'll get, kind of thing. And like, just working with him closely, in some ways changed everything for me. So I'm forever in debt to him. And I never forget about those days and just how helpful he was with teaching me things that like I should have probably known, but having no background in it, you know what I mean? Like it took somebody like him to help me get anywhere with it,
Nice. Well, why don't we go on and bring in that interview? And so here is Tyler and Carlos.
All right, and with that, we are proud to bring in our very good friend Carlos Mojica, who is, this is an exciting time for you, man. You're coming out your debut book, Goal, Awesome Soccer Stories and Fun Facts for Kids. For those who don't know you, I know at least like us in like the media rounds, you've been a friend to us for so many years, but for anybody meeting you for the first time today, can you just walk them through your soccer journey and just, set the scene for how you arrived at this moment where you got this book coming out?
Sure. So, I was born in El Salvador, moved to the U.S. when I was 11. At some point during college or in grad school, I began covering soccer, the men's national team and the Columbus Crew for a magazine called Centro Deportivo. And, I got a taste for what it was like to be a reporter, doing translations. And after about 2 years, I felt like I wanted to be more on the team side of things. So I ended up joining AFC Cleveland in 2015. That was the now defunct NPSL team. Worked there in 2015 and 2016. 2016, I was also a member of the NPSL as the communications coordinator, and I got the chance to actually win my first championship with AFC Cleveland. We won the NPSL championship in 2016. At the end of that year, I joined the Columbus Crew, spent about 6.5 seasons with them from 2016 to 2022. So I had the chance to see my share of different things like the opening of the new stadium, the new training facility, and obviously winning MLS Cup and Champions Cup in 2020 and 2021. Launched Crew 2. That was one of my big projects when I was still with the team. With the last things I did. When I left the club, I ended up actually doing PA announcements for Crew 2 during the MLS Next Pro Cup playoffs in 2022 and then in 2023. So they won the championship in 2022, which is really cool to be a part of that. And since then, I've been doing some freelance work for collaborating with organizations like CONCACAF, MLS, work international friendlies. And now my debut book is coming out. Goal. It's a children's book about soccer just in time for the World Cup.
Yeah. And did you, just knowing, how many hats you've worn throughout that soccer journey, did you ever see yourself writing a book before this opportunity came about?
So writing was always my first love. When I first went to college, I initially wanted to be a writer. So I was an English major. And at some point it clicked that I didn't have to be an English major to write a book. So I've always wanted to write a book. I never knew that it would be a book about soccer, and I didn't think it would be for children, but it makes sense, right? When you think about soccer, soccer brings people joy, and when you think of joy, you think of children. So to me, that it was just a perfect mix.
Yeah, and so thinking through that lens, obviously different type of writing, which I'm sure is fun and exciting. And you shared some of that process with me, over the process. But going back to, you've got to write this book. You take, over 100 players, just take the history of the game, whittle it down to, 100 plus for the essential figures for kids to know. And obviously, as you said, just in time for the World Cup. But what went into your research selection process? How hard was it to leave some people out? Just what did it take to get this thing done,
So there's a song by Manchester Orchestra. I think it was actually one of their first albums called, I think, Great Talent is Good, but it needs a great editor. That's what it felt like in terms of like the content, because one, I'm not used to writing for children. So I had to change the way that I was writing so that it would be engaging for kids, but also it's so much, right? How do you bring it down? How do you make the cut? So it was painstaking. I mean, Tyler here, you were just a huge resource for me, so I bounce ideas off you. It's not meant to be a definitive list of all the greatest players of all time, because that's, I don't think anyone's list is definitive, but it's meant to be a sampling of the greats that have captured the imagination of the public and who have left an impact in the sport, both men and women. And at the same time, I think it's a perfect introduction for anyone that doesn't know about soccer and wants to learn it. And then again, just in time for the World Cup, you can give this to your kid and they'll be ready come tournament time.
Yeah. And so in addition to the writing, you have little interactions in there, such as the quizzes, the recaps, like keeping that engaging. Did you have to come up with all that yourself, just in terms of, making it kid friendly and doing that for the first time? I'm curious, I guess, what else goes into it that people don't see beyond, the research and the writing?
So beyond the research and the writing I think you have to find your voice at some point, right? You figure out your voice and you kind of fine tune it. My editor was huge when it came to making sure things were kid friendly. Not that I had anything offensive in there, but to make sure that it sounded engaging. So that was a huge help as I reworked some of it. Something may sound great, but it may sound great to an adult, and you need to be able to explain that to a kid. I think a perfect example is offside. I mean, how many adults do you know that struggle, myself included at times, with offside, right?
Yeah.
With explaining it or understanding it. So then to be able to simplify that in a way for a child, that part was really difficult. And then when it came to the fun facts and the trivia, it was a matter of, what would I want to see? What would a kid want to learn? And for people that have been in the sport for a while, I think there's a lot of things that we just kind of assume people know about the sport. So it's almost like taking a step back and saying, hey, if I were just brand new to this, what would I want to learn? And I actually had a friend whose children I used as like an experiment, just to kind of bounce ideas off them and see if the level was, in line with their age. I mean, the book is meant to be for children ages 7 through 9, but I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just simple, that it was still entertaining. And And I think I took a big inspiration from the Guinness Book of World Records, if you remember that.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a rite of passage for every kid here, like in 6th or 7th grade, or at least it used to be, that you would look at that book during your library time in school and then kind of share it with your friends. And so I tried to make it have that feel, so that maybe you find out this really cool fact about a player or a tournament and you want to show it off to your friend.
Yeah. And for, anybody who, I'm sure a lot of people have some idea of like the comms, day in and day out, or they had those touch points of the club. But in your case, coming back now, being on the other side, you're the media now. What's it been like for you, just whether it's reconnecting with everybody or, just all the appearances you're making? Because I'm sure this won't be people's first time seeing you, just with you making the rounds and everything. Are you enjoying being on the other side now?
So it's a little weird. It almost feels like out of character, right? It's been nice that people have been so supportive, and I'm very appreciative of that. I've had a lot of support from people I've worked with over the years, from friends that I've connected to. So it's been weird, but it's also nice, like you said, you get to reconnect with friends. There's some people that I hadn't seen face to face in a long time that I was able to see either via video or in person. And so that's been nice. Just kind of reminiscing to, oh yeah, that's right, we met like a decade plus ago now. So
you welcomed your first child throughout this process. How rewarding do you think that's going to be when you and your little guy get to bond, over a book that you wrote, when you get to start sharing, your love for the game?
It'll definitely be very special, because I remember being a kid, like I used to play soccer in El Salvador every day after school. And after school, I would also come home and watch they used to have the Champions League on for the cartoons. And at first I didn't like it because I wanted more cartoons, but then I started watching it and I would see these players like Zinedine Zidane would be on there. I remember seeing Ronaldo, and then Ronaldo was the guy that actually got me interested in the game, and then going to my dad and saying, oh, this guy, Ronaldo R9, he's really good. And then my dad would say, yeah, he's good, but Maradona was really good and Pelé was really good too. You should look into them. And then going back and trying to find out anything I could about those guys. And at that time, I didn't have the internet, so it was basically asking around. And this is the kind of book that I wish that I'd had back then, because I would probably carrying around like a Bible of sorts, right? Just showing it off to friends or taking it with me on trips.
Yeah, I mean, how much of a niche space soccer is, just compared to other sports and the options that, a lot of kids have. So to fill that space is going to be awesome. Like, I think you're going to feel the ripple of that for years to come. And to that point, beyond, like individuals and, having this book in people's households, I think it's cool. Like you can kind of do a lot with this for the years to come, whether it's getting it in classrooms, getting it in libraries. Do you have big dreams about, all the places where, if somebody's going to get this for themselves, but like who else may be interested apart from a gift from like the young one in your life or, whoever, where else can this book go, in your mind?
So I was actually telling someone the other day that I think this book would not be out of place at a coffee table. I certainly keep books that are probably at a lower reading level than I might traditionally read, but they're for children, they're for people that want to learn about the sport. And when I came to the US, I didn't speak any English. And, I would go to a library and I would just naturally flock to books that had soccer in them. And sometimes they were really boring. Sometimes I had no pictures. And so I love the idea that this could be in a library in the school somewhere, and that an English learner can see it and they either see a player from their country in the book. And so it makes them want to read, and it can help foster that love of reading. I hope that it sparks conversations between kids and parents where they have debates. Maybe they disagree with some of the players that I have on there, and they want to tell their kid about someone else that didn't make the cut, so to speak.
Yeah. And were there any heartbreakers for you in doing that? Like, did you have any list of players that just were so close that you wanted to keep in but couldn't?
There were a few players. I think I have everyone in the book that I want to be in the book, right? But yeah, definitely, there's been so many great players, both men and women, that it's hard to narrow it down, but it comes down to space. And so I think that the players in the book do justice to the globality of the game as well as to the different eras.
Yeah, well, that's great. And so I'm guessing now, little TV magic for the listener. We're taping this ahead of the book's release, but probably by the time this comes out, right? The big day is March 24, and
Correct.
yeah, we'd be coming out probably next episode. So the book will be available. Won't even be pre-order anymore. It'll be live. I know Amazon, very accessible for people. Barnes and Noble, very traditional bookstore. Where else can people get it, and what's the best way for people to support it? Do you have is there a pecking order of where people should prioritize looking for it?
Sure. So the book is coming through Quarter Books, or Quarter Kits, I should say, through the Becker Meyer series or Becker and Meyer. If you want to support it, you can go to URL geni.us/goal-awesome-soccer. And then once you're there, it'll actually give you a listing of all the places you can purchase it, but it does help the publisher if you go through there. And then as Tyler mentioned, this is available Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, basically anywhere that they sell books, independent stores as well. And so it is widely available, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to show my niece and nephew. I still haven't had the opportunity. You guys were gracious enough to share an advanced copy, and I've really enjoyed thumbing through it. But I'm really going to enjoy having those copies for the kids. My sister-in-law is like a teacher, going to stick a few in her classroom and like all of that. And I'm going to be spreading the love, man. And of course, as things change, what I think is great about book, it's just such a thing that's going to live forever. So we can come back on and talk about it again and again and again, so really appreciate you joining us, obviously. And then for our listeners, anybody, you're going to see Carlos probably making the rounds. But you said you're doing CST, you're doing all of it, you're doing a bunch of national stuff. So you're going to be around. He's just been such an ally to so many of us for so many years. One of the top notch, just in terms of the entire circuit. Nobody's more respected than you. And it's just so cool to see you continuing to give to the game, So it's an honor to be your friend. It's so cool to be able to do this podcast and be professional,
No, I really appreciate the support. I'm glad that you hold me in such high regard, and then hope everyone else does too. And it's just my part contributing. And to go back a little bit, I'm super excited to read this to my kid once he can understand it. I may or may not already have read the Maldini chapter to him because that was important to me, right? So.
And then lastly, I guess I forgot to ask, for people who want to keep up with you and follow you along on this journey and, maybe another book coming one day, where should people be following you for, your updates on this?
Sure. So you can follow me on Instagram at cd.mojica. I'm still on X at cd_mojica. I'm on Threads as well. Same handle as Instagram. If you get the book, if you purchase it, I would love to see a photo of it. Feel free to tag me, tag at Quarter Kids. Let me know what you think. I really hope you enjoy it and spend a lot of time working on it. And hopefully I've done the sport justice.
Awesome. Well, Carlos, thank you again so much. Listener, smash the purchase button on the book. And of course, Laurel and I will have our own testimony as well. But yeah, man, thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure we'll be chatting again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks to Carlos for joining us and sharing a little bit more about his book. This felt like a perfect week to bring that in as just, no game to talk about. So it was fun to talk about soccer in a different way. So,
and it's out now. If we would have done it a couple weeks ago, pre-order, would people have done it? Now it's just go directly to the site and order it. So
yeah. So my daughter actually, I gave it to her and I said, I really want you to read this book. I think you would learn a lot. I don't usually tell her she has to read any certain things, but I was like, I think you'd like this because she's really getting into soccer. And she was like, well, I want you to read it to me. And I don't know. I guess I it's probably better that way. Cause like I said, I've gone through, I kind of looked through it, but I haven't fully dove into all the players. I pretty much, I think I've looked through every single page and I was like, wow, this is really, to kind of get an idea what it was. But it's probably good. I'm going to go through it with her. Then I can kind of answer her questions. And I think it'll be fun. So we started it this week and so far, so good.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention this like a dingus in the interview. I was way too caffeinated if nobody could tell during that. But something that I just really want to make sure is clear in that one. It includes men's and women's players.
Yeah.
Which is like huge. You know what I mean? Like just for every, like, I don't think it would have been like out of the question for like, oh, it's a men's book, whatever. No, like it's got all the USWNT superstars, the Brazilian, like it's really, really all encompassing. And I think that that's what makes it so inclusive. So
yeah,
my bad for not mentioning that in the interview.
No, I mean, I thought it came up. I'm trying to remember because I listened back to your interview, but I love that part of it. Maybe it was just you and I talking about it, where it came up. But yeah, like my daughter knows Rose Lavelle and some of like the current players, but I've mentioned Mia Hamm to her, but I don't know. I think it's good that she'll be able to, like, we try to put on women's sports on our TV so she can see like it's not just the men that get to do all this. So
yeah,
really appreciated that part of it. But thanks for mentioning that. Moving on, so no Patreon press pass this week. I just want to give you guys a heads up. Please send those in. So I've got like a collection to kind of choose from. And but the travel last week with the team going from being on the road in New England and then very limited time to kind of get those interviews done before they went to Mexico, and then it was quick turnaround to Sunday. So I didn't get a chance to answer any or ask any of the Patreon press pass questions, but I will if you can send some in. So I've got more to choose from, especially when the team's at home or there's a break, I might have more opportunities to ask those questions. So be sure to send those in. You can send them in through Patreon. If you're, I guess I should mention, if you're new to the show, the Patreon Press Pass is where my subscribers to the Insider Show on Patreon are able, and anyone really subscribed over there can submit questions for me to ask if they want me to ask a certain player or staff member. I can't guarantee I'm going to be able to get all these questions answered. It also have to make sure it's an appropriate question, and just being able to get access to that individual will determine whether I can or when I can have these answered. So go on and subscribe over at patreon.com/Queen City Press and send me your questions through there and I'll add them to the mix. But why don't we move on into what I was able to learn about the FC Cincinnati Foundation yesterday. Like I mentioned in our opening, they had an event to kind of reveal what it was their community impact report from 2025. And it kind of coincided with this Sleep in Heavenly Peace event that several FC Cincinnati employees were helping with to build 200 beds for kids that don't have one. Players Evan Loro and Tom Barlow were among them. So it was kind of fun to see them out there. They always try to get some other players or coaching staff members or whoever they can get out there to participate. It's really good for the community to see actual players or staff getting involved in these projects. And they do participate in a lot of different things. So it was good to see that. And I posted like a couple pictures on Twitter. I'm going to be writing a story, so I'll have more coming out soon. But it was good event to get out and see.
Yeah. So, I mean, don't spoil the story or anything like that, but what were the big takeaways? There's a lot there, right? Like their community impact, like I know it's like a longer thing and then the event's another thing. And then I'm sure you talk to the players and everybody. So what were the big things for anybody who wasn't there but wanted to be, like myself?
Yeah. So obviously FC Cincinnati has just a ton of different initiatives that they do through their foundation to kind of make an impact on the community. And obviously the West End community is a big part of that. Like their dedication to when they were building that stadium, they made sure they were gonna they just wanted to be a good neighbor, and that foundation was one way that they could really get involved in the local community. But it extends beyond just the West End. I mean, they have many pitches that I think they're going to be building their 12th one this year. I think there's one as far north as Middletown that I've driven by, and then it goes down to Covington, Kentucky, and So that's one thing. But some of the stats they shared, I'll go on and run through. And then, yeah, like I said, I'll have more in a story, and then we'll hear some more in a little bit from Jeff Berding about it as well. But FC Cincinnati delivered 827 hours of soccer programming. They reached more than 12,600 youth through Soccer Unites. That's one of their initiatives. They honored nearly 20,000, I think it was more than 20,100 students through the Learning is Cool Academic Achievement Initiative, and engaged more than 69,000 students in the Stay in the Game initiative to combat chronic absenteeism across 10 different school districts. So again, it's just FC Cincinnati trying to be a good neighbor. And like I said, I'll have more like details to that and the story coming up. But I just thought I'd at least run through some of those stats for you guys.
Yeah. Beyond that, I mean, did anything else like really surprise you?
One thing I learned, I didn't realize. So Marvin Lewis, Jeff Berding worked with the Bengals before his time with FC Cincinnati, and he was good friends with Marvin Lewis. And as FC Cincinnati was, obviously they came up through USL, and Jeff Berding had ideas of wanting to make an impact on the community, but the foundation actually started in December 2018 as FC Cincinnati was going into MLS. And Jeff Berding actually he told Marvin Lewis, if you're ever not the coach of the Bengals and your foundation work here is coming to an end, I would like to take that over. And so that's how some of their programs actually came about. Marvin Lewis actually did end up not coaching again after 2018 actually was his last season. And I remember seeing Marvin Lewis out at MHTC. I said in my interview with Jeff, I brought that up. I said 2019, but I realized it would have been at least 2020 because we were in the new facility at MHTC, which wasn't around until the end of, I guess it would have been the end of 2019, but regardless. And then he's been around. I've seen him a couple times, and yeah, he's still connected with Jeff, and I guess kind of keeps tabs probably of some of the foundation work that he did that now FC Cincinnati has kind of taken over under their umbrella. So the other thing was that FC Cincinnati is the largest foundation of any MLS club, and they employ the most community relations staff members. So I thought that was kind of interesting, just given there's some clubs that have been around a lot longer. So man, I still can't believe this is their 11th season of existence, but they still feel so young. So
I know that fact is truly insane.
but
like
yeah.
think about how old, like it's not even sorry, let me not get in the way of our structure here. So you had a word with Jeff about that, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I should have gone on and led into that. Thanks for reeling me back in. But yeah. So yeah, I'll have my interview with Jeff Berding. He kind of shared his original vision for giving back to the community when the club founded, and like I said, as the foundation actually got underway in 2018. He mentions Kate Solomon, so in case you guys don't know who that is, that's the executive director of the foundation, and she's been with the club since 2016, and her role has kind of evolved, and she's taken on a ton of work, but it's been awesome just that she's kind of been there through all of this. So we talked a little bit about her, give her due, and then, yeah, we talked a little bit about the development around TQL Stadium that kind of tied back in just because of our discussion of how the foundation is impacting the West End community. Well, any development around the stadium impacts that community. So I asked him a little bit about that. And so, yeah, I'll go on and share that. You guys can hear that. And then I'm cutting it where we talked about the state of the team, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So here is Jeff Berding talking about the foundation and the development around the stadium. Looking back with the start of the foundation, and you talked about just kind of the vision, and you guys kind of set out to do that from the beginning. But
from the beginning, even when I was just writing ideas down on a legal pad, giving back to the community and making the community better, stronger, healthier, broader than just the West End, to use our voice to represent Cincinnati globally, and bringing the world to Cincinnati were things that we set out to do at the very beginning. We were involved in the community during our USL era for certain, but as we succeeded in earning our place in Major League Soccer, having the foundation became a more official way to organize that giving back. Kate had been with us since the 2016 season, had worked with me previously for many years at the Bengals, and she's had different roles, but always helped oversee the community piece. So then when we created the foundation, she was the natural person to be the executive director of the foundation. Her title has grown within FC Cincinnati, but she has always led the foundation as the executive director. I think it helped that she was with me at the Bengals with Marvin Lewis. So as Marvin exited the Bengals and there wasn't interest in retaining the programming and the legacy of his community fund, it helped that I had Kate, who was familiar with Marvin, who knew Natalie, to be able to bring those good works in-house.
Yeah, I didn't realize that with the Marvin Lewis connection. I had seen him out at the facility in Milford.
Yes.
I think in 2019.
It was. Well, and then he was here last year.
Yeah.
He came out to a practice last year as well.
That's pretty cool. How unique is it to have someone like Kate stay with you that whole time and be able to, how much does that help?
It helps a lot because there's a couple things. Certainly continuity. She has the confidence of people throughout the organization, whether that's from our owners and me, who have seen the evidence of her good work, who interact with her in terms of our own donations to the foundation, to throughout the soccer side, where Chris and Pat and everyone know Kate, and getting the players involved. Kate spends at least a day a week out of Milford, so she's a visible presence in the building. And then certainly among our front office staff who are involved, who are volunteering for Adopt a Class at Hayes Porter, the scholarship program. A lot of our staff get involved, and Kate is someone who people like to work with. And the other thing is she has an ambitious growth mindset herself. So she's always looking for new opportunities, new ideas, how we improve, how we grow, how we measure impact, because we can have a good program that we like, but we determine that it wasn't quite having the impact that we sought. And so let's maybe repurpose some of those dollars or that energy into something new. Sometimes there's crises that you're responding to. Kate will have meetings with city officials regarding things that are happening here in the West End. So our success is really a testament to her great leadership.
Is there a certain project or just things that you guys have gotten involved in that you view as like the thing that you really enjoy or are happy to see? Like any of those favorite projects, I guess.
I mean, the report is quite comprehensive, so it would be hard to single out any one thing. I will say that our grants program is something that clearly has impact. My wife and I volunteer a little bit with Q Kids. It's the girls' dance group down on Lynn Street. You think about sports in the West End, that has been primarily focused on boys in many ways. The West End Pride is both boys and girls, but the Q Kids have been here for some time, and I love to go and we bring pizza and watch the girls train and go to their recitals. So that for me is on a personal level, a very meaningful relationship.
Can I ask you about the development around, like, is there any updates with kind of the timeline of that and how much is that embraced by
Sure.
the community? Because I
So,
know, like you said,
yeah,
like
it's-
change was something the
yeah.
community was kind of fearful of at
Sure.
first, but
So, what we promised is that we would be engaged. There would be regular forum, which there are. We're present at what FC Cincinnati is present at every West End Community Council meeting, mostly to listen, to understand what's going on in the neighborhood. When we had the vision to develop north of the stadium, we had a vision making session with residents of the West End, where literally the first part was, if you think about those activities, maybe you do sometimes with offsite, we had people cut pictures out of magazines and put them up representing what they wanted to see in a development, what they wanted it to feel like. And so from that, we had our architects present. We then went about trying to capture that with our design that we brought forward for feedback, had feedback, took it back, made some changes and brought it back. During that time, we were talking with the city of Cincinnati, and the city wanted us to present our plans. And we said, no, until we have support from the West End, these are just ideas. So the West End had to approve our design before we then went to the city of Cincinnati and say, okay, this is what we want to do. Because when it's we want to do, it wasn't just FC Cincinnati it was the neighborhood, the community we. So we have gone about developing our vision that is fully aligned with and supported by the West End Community Council. My understanding, unanimous vote at the West End Community Council. That's pretty hard to achieve, but it shows that we've been collaborative, we have listened, and we've developed an ambitious plan together. The feedback that we've heard from residents of the West End is we want nice things in our neighborhood too. For too long, developers have not been willing to invest dollars, have not been willing to bring nice things, the amenities, the quality of life that we expect, we take for granted in other neighborhoods in the city. It has eluded the West End. And so they've endorsed our vision to build a really wonderful world-class development north of the stadium in the West End. And so we're very proud of that. Because we want to build something really super nice and world-class, I will acknowledge that costs more. When you try to build at a high quality, there's enhanced costs. Obviously, there's been a lot of inflation since the pandemic that has also driven up costs. And so as a result, we do have an application in with the state of Ohio. They have a sports facility fund that they have created. We have an application in that'll help us build something world-class. We want to build something much nicer than the banks. The quality will speak for itself, and the way it represents Cincinnati on a global stage will be evident. And so we're waiting for some feedback from the state of Ohio, but we are shovel ready today. And we hope to hear soon, and then we'll take it from there.
So that was Jeff Berding. Just, I thought it was important, if we're going to, the team takes a lot of criticism, for especially the start to this season and then those wooden spoon years. I thought it was important to share some of the good that they're also doing off the pitch. So, hope you guys got something out of that, but kind of bringing it back to current events, like we mentioned earlier, FC Cincinnati was really close to going 0-2 last week. Absolutely crumbled in the round of 16 series with Tigres, losing a 3-goal lead in the aggregate with a 5-1 loss in Mexico. They even came back to get that tiebreaker advantage on the away goal at 4-1, but conceded the final blow in the 8th minute of stoppage time down there in Mexico. And then on Sunday, trailed 3 times against the struggling Montreal team, and that wasn't looking good at all, but they ended up with 2 goals in the final 20 minutes while down a man, and won it on Kevin Denke's header in the 4th minute of second half stoppage time. So I do think we need to kind of revisit that, Tyler, before I get into Jeff Berding's thoughts, because I think that's probably something helpful for the fans. But
Yeah.
do, like, do you think that like, did your thoughts change after that Tigres loss? Were you, I mean, because you had asked that question, like we talked about with Nate. What were you thinking after that one?
Yeah, I was thinking that I was really off base with what the supporters think, and there's a lot going on that night. And as I said at the beginning of the episode, because I thought that that's where we were going to talk about this, so go back to that for more of it. But I still think two things can be true, and our I don't know if we call Chief like our colleague. He's definitely one of like the elite posters of the Cincinnati supporters group. I saw something he said that wasn't like I could agree with this. Everything that they do gives us so much more ammo. In terms of some of these failures are going to be like predictable. And it's like, okay, I can see the point in that. But I still don't think, Laurel, that anybody what I saw in a lot of comments, and this was just more common across hundreds and hundreds of people saying it, we want Jim Curtin, we want Wilfred Nancy. It's like, okay, I think you can fire Noonan because you think that those guys are just going to spawn and be interested in this job. I promise you guys, it's not that easy. You're not going to be able to snap your fingers and make it happen. You'd be looking at the rest of the season probably of Brett Utley or Kenny Arena caretaking. And as you've pointed out, rightfully so many times, you're firing the winningest coach over the last 3 seasons. It's not imminent. I still stand by that, but I do understand the optics, and I'm not here to make excuses for the team. And the team would not have any excuses if they didn't rescue that win against Montreal. So all to say, I still feel exactly the same, but with more thoughts and more consideration after seeing how vocal people got about Tigres.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I like I said, I did not think they would blow that lead and against Tigres. So I did have to think a little bit about, oh my gosh, this was, for a team, I had kind of written off the poor starts of the MLS season because they were sacrificing, I think, some of the results in MLS to focus on Champions Cup. And so I'm like, when they lost, I did have to take a beat and think, man, did they sacrifice all that and then not advance? What's that going to do? And so it did make Sunday feel more important. I just think you could see it in I mean, Noonan had to be just beside himself on that was not how they drew up that game at all. They didn't draw up losing at Tigres the way they did either. But I think this was the game that they were going to get things right and really show this is who we are. But you also, and I know this sounds like excuses, you could tell players were tired. And afterward talking with Evan Loro, he brought up he sounded tired and he wasn't even playing those games. I mean, he played Sunday, obviously, in Roman's place because of his injury. But he was like, man, we've been traveling and they were beat down and feeling like crap. They did not like the results themselves. So I do think that did factor in. And I think just getting that win was such a relief. And now they do have that break to kind of reset mentally. They, I think they had only had 1 or 2 days off since the start of the season because of all the travel and all the games. And they had been gone from their homes for, a month for preseason. So, I mean, that does sound like all excuses, but I think Nate, when he talked about how it's more amplified because it's at the beginning of the year, whereas if they had gotten off to a good start and then hit a little rough patch, rough patches happen. It's just, you're not always expecting it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. And then Orlando setting the precedent, already in the season. And, Oscar Pereja won that team US Open Cup and then got them in the playoffs. I don't think I'm making this up, 6 years in a row.
Yeah.
So the merry-go-round has started. I don't even want to get into Orlando and why they're so much different than Cincinnati, but I do realistically, I can see how there are some realistic comparisons. But we can talk about it all we want. The fans can talk about it all they want. One person who's actually at the table when these decisions happen, in Mr. Berding, he spoke with, interested in what you took from, or actually bring us in. What did I know you talk about? You know, you take it from here. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Well, I'm passing the ball to you.
Let's go on and hear what Jeff Berding had to say, and then we'll come back and I think we can kind of dissect that a little bit. But yeah, he's the guy you want to hear from. I was really grateful that he was willing to go there with me, because he could have said, well, we're here for the foundation. Let's just keep it at that. And he, I think he knows the fans would like to hear from him. So here is Jeff Berding. Do you mind if I ask just the start of the team? I know it's been a little rough, but the fans got to see a win on Sunday. Do you feel like that's... I guess what are your thoughts on this?
Listen, I've been around pro sports long enough now, 30 years, to know that sometimes a dramatic victory can really change the direction, can swing the pendulum, can give confidence and the ability to rally from behind, to overcome adversity. Sometimes those moments are pretty pivotal. Those results are pretty pivotal. For us, this was a very pivotal game. Obviously, I mean, I will offer, I was physically ill after what happened in Mexico. Sometimes you have pretty demoralizing results, and that was a tough result. And so not just for me, but for everyone associated with FC Cincinnati. So to see the team rally through adversity, come back 3 times, and then win the game at the end was much needed. I feel like we may look back at the end of the year and feel like that was a really enormous victory.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, you were through some tough years in the beginning.
Yeah, listen, I think a part of this is the expectations have changed, and with our fans and people in the organization, and certainly including everyone out in Milford. The expectations when you're a part of FC Cincinnati are the winning part. Now, I'll be honest, it's a long season, and so, you could look at teams that have won the Cup over the past couple years have had some struggles. Miami last year at the beginning of the year, LA Galaxy certainly the year before that. Just to experience a little bit of early season challenge does not mean you cannot have a phenomenally successful trophy-winning season. But it shows what our expectations are here because of past results. I think each year of the past 4, we've been near the top the entire season from beginning to end. And so, yes, that has not been the start of this season. Certainly trying to win the Champions Cup and rotating schedule and some things, having a couple injuries. The season did not begin the way people are used to. But I think it's certainly shown by Sunday. There's a lot of fight in this group. There's a lot of pride, and there is expectation. And it certainly gives us during this FIFA break a little bit of an opportunity to build that confidence, to get back to the standards that we've set here.
Is there anything you would want to say to fans about just the support that?
Well, I will say I think several of our players spoke to the people who were in the building, the fans in the building on Sunday, really helped the team rally. That probably doesn't happen on the road. But it happened at home, and the fans were loud and were into it and sort of pulling the guys forward to get the result. And so thank you to all the fans that were here on Sunday, and encourage folks to come back. You saw the thrilling victory. There's probably more of that to come. To the fans who have been frustrated, let me say, no one's more frustrated than the people in the building with the results that haven't been to our expectations. I think it's a testament to what the club we've built together, that those expectations are what they are. They're high. and we've built those expectations together, and those remain the expectations. But at the end of the day, at the end of the season, we're going to be holding trophies, and I think we've learned it's more about how you finish the year than necessarily how you begin it. So we are taking stock of everything we do to make sure that we are in a position there at the end of the season. It is a long season, and I think Chris and our soccer group have earned some trust that if things aren't working, we will get things right. It is the beginning of the year. That evaluation process is just beginning with results and performances. Again, the expectations and standards are high, and those are well established by everyone who's a fan of our club.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So that was Jeff Berding, and I think he kind of, from that, I take that Pat Noonan and Chris Albright have earned some time to fix this, but the evaluation process is always there. I think another thing just like that popped up in my mind was like, when you have been through so many changes early in your MLS time, and really even looking back at USL, I mean, they went through John Harkes, Alan Koch, then it was caretaker, Yop Stom, or no, Ron.
Johan
No,
Domenech,
yeah.
then Ron,
And
then
Ron,
Johan again.
yes. And then Yop Stom, and then they got Pat Noonan, and I just think some of those, like, when they went through so many changes in a short period of time, like that has to be in the back of your mind as well. Like, what if it's not Pat Noonan and you make that change and you bring in whoever and they can't fix it? Like, are you going to just keep cycling through? And then you had gotten rid of a coach that was winning as much as he did. And yeah, like, again, I don't think we have to write off the start of this season completely. Like, it does factor in, but
Right.
I think that's why we're not seeing any like knee-jerk reactions. I mean, they see the fans, and fans are emotional. And yeah, Jeff Berding in that interview talked about how he was as sick as anyone after that loss to Tigres. So he feels that emotion, but he is running a club and he has to do what's best for the club. And so yeah, I take from that, like, and it's what we've been kind of saying all along, is like, you look at the body of work and it does buy them some time.
Yeah. And like, there's also, this is open. I mean, there's so many fractures of this conversation that are like interesting too, but it's like, I don't think anybody's saying Chris Albright is like a bad GM, let's say, and even a good GM is going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
So on paper, the Lucho thing and however personal that got, maybe that could have been a mistake. But replacing him with the best, I don't know any other way to say that, just methadone for Lucho, because he's just such a one-of-one player. And Evander, you can clearly see the vision there. You go get a Belgian Golden Boot winner in Kevin Dinke. That looks pretty good. Yeah. It not panning out. It's like, what I mean? But like, if you are the GM, these things become accessible. You find a way to make it work. Like, yeah, they didn't hit, but are you going to call them mistakes? Because their roster limitations are one of the fractures I'm talking about. And like, I was talking to another person about like Miles, and just like, yeah, I think that's a mistake. I think you could have. Sorry, I'm going way off our script, but
No.
You know what I mean? Like, there is Pat, there is a bit of an awkward team here, and like a good coach will find a way to get points. I think Supporter Shield, you're not looking at that anymore. You're just not. Or I mean, like, you've left so much on the table that I don't think like that's what you're thinking about. You're going to be looking at Leagues Cup and MLS Cup, and at MLS Cup, you're going to hope it's like a 2024 matchup, like that Ricky Pujolis, LA Galaxy versus the New York Red Bulls. And, you can end up winning something with this team still. Like, worse teams have won things, and this is still not a bad team. It's just not as, I don't know, like, I think the expectation should be lower, but still, what am I trying to say here? Like, the expectations should be contender, not favorite, I guess. Does that feel right?
Yeah.
But like, is that so different than how we started the year? Like,
I don't know. I mean, people were so disappointed because probably because like the club did say, like, we expect trophies last year, and they did talk about the investment that they had put into that attack with Denke and Evander. And so then when no trophies were won and the way that they exited the playoffs, I think that just raised the expectations going into this year, even though I still contend, and I've said it many times, I still think the starting lineup or the starting options on this team are not overall as strong as they ended the season with, because again, it goes back to that. And again, I will say I still like Miles Robinson. I think he's hit a little bit of a rough patch. He started off the season very well. But that decision to make him into a DP did make it so you couldn't bring Brenner back. And then you're talking about we need to be better in the attack, and you took away Brenner, which again, that didn't work out because of roster decisions. And then they had to sell Luca Orejano. He wanted to go. It was time. So I get that. Then you take away Lucas Engel, and that impacts their defense a little bit. I thought he was a good option back there. I'm still waiting to see. The jury's still out on Brian Ramirez. I've said I think he could be the best left back that they've had, because he actually can, like, he had that experience playing left back, whereas most of the wing backs they've brought in on the left side at least have been just attackers. So I've seen moments from him. He's also, I think, struggled here a little bit lately, but just overall, like, I think there's depth in some spots and then not depth in some spots. So I think that the roster still has ways to improve, and hopefully they can figure out a way to do that this summer, or find some free agents that can help them out in the meantime. But I just also think that having this break right now and then coming back and being able to just focus on MLS, like, I think they're going to be able to, even though it's going to be tough to catch up, like, I think that they can enough to be in a good spot going into the playoffs. And like Jeff said, it matters what you do at the end of the season, not at the beginning.
Exactly. So, and we'll talk about that more later. We'll talk about it live next week at the pitch. Their return to action isn't that crazy. Like, in terms of like the MLS schedule, it's manageable. It's a good ramp up to, like, you want to be elite. Here you go. Here's some cupcake, or at least what appears to be cupcake games for you now.
Well, let's not call anything cupcake, Tyler. We saw what happened against
I know,
Toronto.
but that's the thing. Like, but like, if they're playing Toronto again, so they have a chance to do that. They're playing, I think, Red Bulls twice, and Red Bulls
lost to
Montreal. That's a project, and I have a lot of respect for it. Like, I'll tell tales of that another time. But like, I got to see that team up close and personal a lot towards the end of last year with Nextpro, and like, it's a valid project, but it is a project,
Well, why don't we go on? Anything else that we need to touch on with that, or is that a good segue into the international break?
No, just come riff with us next week. I want to riff more, but we got a time limit here, so we've got international duty. 9 players?
Could have been 12.
Could have been 12. So, I guess that's the big headliner there. I at least was surprised Roman got that selection, and that really sucks for him to have that opportunity taken away. I know that you spoke with Coach about it, and it was precautionary, but probably the safest option overall.
Yeah. So he kind of woke up with some muscle tightness day before the match, and then was going to try. It sounded like he was going to try to go through his warm up and see if he could go in the game. And Pat was like, no, one game is not worth the risk. And then it ended up, these friendlies are, let's see, I'm trying to remember who they're even playing. Is it Belgium and Portugal? Yeah. So, I mean, it is World Cup tune-ups. It is an important camp. So you feel terrible but it's, again, if it's a long-term risk, then it's not going to do him good to hurt himself in camp. So he was replaced on the roster by Patrick Schulte of the Columbus Crew. And then, 2 others that couldn't go. Stefan Chirilla had been called into the Romanian, I think it was the 20s. I'm not sure exactly which one, but he had a leg injury that came up a week or two ago, so he's not going. And then Ender Echenike couldn't go with Venezuela to Uzbekistan because of his visa issues, which again, he's on like a one-time entry visa, and he can travel around North America, but cannot leave North America and then get back in. So I think he could do something. He'd go off and, get a new visa off in Venezuela, but those take time. He might be gone a while, and then just the situation with the U.S. and Venezuela, who knows? So too much going on there. So that's unfortunate. I did talk with him after the game, by the way, and I asked him about that, just how he's handling that, because I had asked Pat Noonan that, and I was like, I wish I could ask Ender. Well, I got a chance to ask Ender on Sunday, and he was like, it's an honor to be called into my team, and it's, it hurts not to be able to go, but he basically understood, like, hopefully those opportunities come by again, and he's just got to do what he needs to do for his club right now. So yeah, the other ones, I guess, should we run through?
Yeah, I mean, I think the headliner here is going to be Miles in these games. I don't think just with his usage under the new regime, I don't think he's a starter.
I've seen him pop up on depth charts as being a possible starter, but
I think this is going to be telling. Yeah. And like, I don't think his MLS, as you said earlier, like, I don't think his run of form has been great. So I do think he has to be damn near perfect with his minutes. And that's cool to like see him rise to that occasion. Like just for the equity of like how far Cincinnati's come, how much farther it goes if like you can sell like World Cup player, like World Cup starter. Guy who wins a World Cup game for the US is on this team. Like the possibilities are endless, but that's the biggest one. Like, and in terms of the senior ones, I'll admit I'm a little naked here.
Well,
do any of the other senior guys have like competitive games, or are they friendlies?
Well, Pavel Buka is the big one because he's playing with Czechia in the World Cup qualifying playoffs. So this is his first first senior team call up, and he's got a chance to help his team get to the World Cup. So these are big matches for him. They're actually playing tomorrow, the 26th. We're recording on Wednesday. He plays Thursday. Now I'm blanking on who. Ireland. He plays the Republic of Ireland, and then if they win that, and they're in Prague. So if they win that, then they play either Denmark or North Macedonia. And I mean, Pavel I think that him playing in the US and the World Cup being in the US could be a big reason that maybe if they end up making it to the World Cup, he could be on that roster because he has that familiarity here, and there's a lot of visa things that could come up with the World Cup, and he's already here with a green card, so that probably helps him out. But obviously they have to make the World Cup, so big games for him. And then Brian Ramirez got called in with Ecuador, so they're playing like World Cup tune-ups as well. And then the other ones, other than Sammy Guidi with the Slovakian U21 team, which is trying to qualify for the 2027 UEFA European U21 championships. So those are big games for him. Unfortunately, he won't qualify for that team by the time if they actually make those championships. He'll be 22. So he's going to help them get there, but not get to actually play in the championships if they make it. But
he could do, I think, like there's some weird things with that. So like it's good service for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to write. It's just kind of unique that he's kind of on that cutoff of not actually being able to go to the championships. But Teenage Hadebi is playing with Zimbabwe in the Four Nations tournament, which is basically just like this made up event because they don't have they're not in the World Cup. They're Africa Cup of Nations isn't for 2 years, so it's just like these friendlies. Kevin Denke is with Togo playing a couple friendlies, and then the other ones, like Adamar Chavez, he's the homegrown player that signed very quickly with the 2 team last year and then already got his homegrown deal, but is kind of off the roster right now. So he is with the let's see, US U17s. Let's see. Yeah. Dado Valenzuela is with the US Youth U21s. And then Andre Chirilla on the 2 team. He is with the US U18s. So all those guys, those younger guys, are kind of just playing these camps as part of the federation's continued focus on what they call the US way philosophy to kind of emphasize increasing programming for youth national teams, just creating more opportunities for young players to advance through the pathway to the senior national team. So yeah, nothing major, I don't think, for those guys, but good opportunities.
You know how, I mean, I don't know if you ever look into all that stuff, but that U.S. youth national team stuff can get political and weird and all that. So those selections are a big deal. So yeah, lots to watch, even though FC Cincinnati does not have a game this week. Yeah.
I will say the Chirilla brothers, it is really interesting because Stefan, he's off with, he's not there now, but he chose the path with Romania, and Andre chose the path with the US. So that's a little bit interesting. But yeah.
And I think it could be wise, especially in the forward group. Like, I think that there are, like, from what I understand, and this is just tea leaves, some of it horse's mouth stuff, but it's like the assessment process, at least in the US, is like pretty clear of like, hey, if you come to these camps, you're kind of wasting our time and yours. Like, you can go be somewhere else, be more successful. Great. You're not really in the plans. Like, or just like whatever it is. But like Steph, I don't know, like he's like always elite for his age group, according to me. Like, or like he's too good for next pro. You know what I mean? Like, still has ways to go for MLS, but that'd be cool if he becomes like a senior at Romania, and then one day Andre somehow gets, senior status with the US, and like they play each other in like a World Cup game. Like, how nuts would that be?
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame Andre. Looking at the center back group for the US, like I think it's all up in the air. So I think, I know. And people have compared him to Matt Miazga. Matt Miazga went through the US national team and had a successful career, and
and people forget, like, this youth movement has really been interesting this year across MLS, like Salt Lake, Red Bulls, a little bit in Seattle. People forget that, like, though they are professional athletes, by the time they're like 16, 17, they still have those like awkward growth spurts, like body changes, like all that kind of stuff. So like their respective power within like these age groups changes so much, like year over year. Like some kid can grow 3 inches and like put on 50 pounds. And it's like, oh my God. Like, I think when we were talking about that with like Andre last year, like it was like 2024 to 2025, like he looked like a completely different human being, like just over like whatever the off season was. Like he just got a lot bigger and just like, always fun and always good for those guys, though, especially on the US side where the youth runs very deep. Very good for them to be on all those different radars. So,
So then they all come back maybe a little tired, and then FC Cincinnati goes to New York, Red Bull New York. They officially changed the name. So they're playing, April 4th up in, it's not even Red Bull Arena anymore. It's Sports Illustrated Stadium. So that'll come up April 4th. And then, I think that's we'll see how they come back. I mean, that's a big thing. Pat Noonan said, like, we hope this is a turning point, but we got to see it. And I think we'll learn a lot about this team in the coming weeks.
And our next episode will be the live one, right?
So
I don't know if I can talk about that offline or not, but I'm just we're not doing 2 episodes next week, so that's gonna be the one, right? So
we'll have the live show. We're gonna try to record it. Hopefully the recording goes well and we can share that. And then please come out 7 p.m. April 1st, next Wednesday, at the pitch across from TQL Stadium. We hope to see you guys there. And again, if you're not listening or if you're not watching on YouTube, please check us out there as well. So like and subscribe at youtube.com/@QueenCityPress. So I think that wraps it up for this week. We actually went longer than I thought we would with no game to talk about. So I think we did pretty good, Tyler.
Yeah, look at us. We're figuring it out.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you guys Wednesday at the pitch.